I guess I've been making these videos a little bit more frequent than I thought I would. But this is probably the last one for this week. Uh, I'm starting out with a shot here at my channel. Basically, so I decided to turn this into a playlist. So if you go into my small business, if you search my name, Ryan Jones, on YouTube, and you look for small business tech, or if you just search small business tech, you'll find a playlist for all my videos. At least all my small business tech videos. So a couple of things. I decided not to probably do a audio version of this for the simple fact that well, a lot of stuff I'm talking about is very visual, and I think it's kind of difficult to translate that to audio. So for now, I'm going to leave it as a video only thing. What I may end up doing in the future is potentially live streaming it. And doing a audio live stream and a video live stream, but then again, it's probably the same issue with the audio not being worth it. But yep. So let's get into today's topic, and this should be a relatively quick video. So you've been watching my past couple of videos, and hopefully my upcoming videos. And you're going to come into one potential issue or one potential question that you're going to have to ask yourself, and that is where to start, right? I'm talking about all this fancy tech, but where do you actually start doing it? How do you actually get this stuff going to do what you want it to do? So hopefully I'll be able to answer some of that for you today. And by the way, let me know how my audio sounds. I know my last video, the audio quality wasn't particularly good, especially towards the end of the video. The audio started breaking up, and like I said, I promised to fix it. Hopefully I don't have the same issues with this. If I was smart, I'd be monitoring myself right now, but I'm not. Anyway, and I'm also trying a different mic. So this one's a little bit of a better mic. So hopefully it'll do the job. So anyway, let's get to it. Where do you start? Well, remember in my terms video, which I believe was episode 1, where I laid out some, or maybe I didn't say. So for a quick definition, someone else's, think of it that. So anyway, so when it comes to hosting any of these technologies that we're going to be discussing in the future, there's a couple things you're going to want to know, especially if you want to get into some of this stuff yourself, right? If you want to roll out your own CRM, your own Dropbox-like functionality, your ticketing system, human resource management, get into a lot of that stuff. So where do you host most of this, especially software technology? So your options are basically on premises, meaning you know, in a closet somewhere in your business or in your basement or whatever the case may be. You buy gear, you buy a switch, you buy a router, you buy a firewall or a combination of a switch and of a router and a firewall, and you know, you do the stuff yourself. Now, that part of having like a switch slash router and a firewall, or I'm sorry, a router slash firewall with a switch is probably not a big ask, considering if you have any kind of computers in your office, especially if you have more than one computer in your business, you're probably going to have that stuff anyway. Where the cost comes up is going to be buying compute hardware, right? So servers. And then when you want to have servers, you have to do things like backups. You want to make sure that you can take a failure of, you know, your entire server and without losing anything or much, right? So what you end up in you end up in a cycle of a couple of things. One, you need to get redundant, so you, for example, get 2 servers, and then just as a final, you know, just as a final failsafe, you have some sort of network backup, right? Like a NAS or a SAN or something of the sort. And if you really want to get extreme, you have an offsite backup, and you know, which can literally be something like a tape drive or a flash or an external USB drive that you take home with you every day. And this can get expensive. It can be a bit of a pain. right? Your other option would be hosted, like and I've said IaaS. Basically, what that stands for is infrastructure as a service. So that it would be something like AWS, right? Just Amazon's AWS, Microsoft's Azure, Google's GCE, or DigitalOcean. You can also do something like a hosted VPS service. DigitalOcean is a good one. I love DigitalOcean. There's Lino, there's OVH, and there's tons and tons of VPS vendors out there. If you just do a little bit of Google searches, you'll find lots of them. So let's kind of break this down into something that's a little bit more easy to digest. So the pro for on-premises is you have the absolute most control. You can spend as much or as little as you want on your hardware. You can build your infrastructure the way you want to. You control scaling, control your security. But with all that comes the bad side. One, you have to secure it on your own, right? Especially if you're going to expose it to the internet. But not just to the internet. You need to provide physical security, right? So you buy a cabinet with a lock, or you put it in the closet with a lock, and you control the access to it. But it will definitely give you the most control. The other downside is you have to administer it yourself. So if you're not particularly tech savvy and you don't necessarily want to learn the ins and outs of Apache, Linux, and Windows Server and databases, this is definitely by far the steepest learning curve. Now, infrastructure as a service is it's relatively similar. I'll be honest with you, the next two are pretty similar to the on-prem, but they kind of the pro-con ratio changes a little bit. So infrastructure as a service is low upfront cost. Typically it's $0 to set it up. You pay for only what you use. So you can start off with a small EC2 compute node with a little bit of block storage, and you only pay for what you use. So you're probably talking pennies per hour, maybe less than $1 a day. Actually, it should be less than $1. But you have slightly less control because you use whatever your infrastructure provider, Amazon or Azure, runs in their background. Right? They give you some choices in terms of operating system, things of sort, but you don't really get much say in customizing that too much. Technically not true. There are ways to do it, but for the most part, let's just say there isn't, unless you really want to get into things like Packer and building custom AMIs, things of the sort. You still have to self-administer it. Amazon or Microsoft will not do that for you, and it can be a little complex. I'm just going to come out of the presentation here. This is the AWS console. I mean, it looks relatively benign compared to what it used to be. But let's look down here at all these services. How do you know what you need? Well, you may need some compute if you just want to run it as a traditional hosted server, or maybe you want to use containers. So you need to launch a container an EC2 container service. Then there's things like storage. Do you need S3 bucket, or you need Glacier? For databases, do you need RDS or DynamoDB? Networking, do you want to mess with CloudFront or Route 53 or VPCs? And like I said, it can be daunting, especially in the beginning. Now, it's not impossible to learn. Thousands and thousands of people have learned how to do this. A lot of your probably most common and popular services that you use actually run on top of Amazon. Almost all of Netflix, for example, last I've heard, runs on top of AWS. The actual movies themselves, I believe, are still stored in Netflix's own data centers, but all the stuff that you deal with as far as the front end, the website, and the recommendations, all those are just servers running on top of AWS. Dropbox started off on AWS. Lots of services. It's very, like I said, the barrier to entry in terms of cost is very low. And that would be pretty similar for a VPS. The pricing here, well, let me get to one thing. So with infrastructure as a service, you pay for what you use. Right, so you may start off with bills that are relatively small. For example, my AWS bill every month has never gone over 40 cents. But if you under heavy load and scaling and lots of uploads and things that they bill you for, you can end up with a bill that's $40, $100. I know companies that have a monthly bill of $5,000, which is probably still relatively cheap, but for a small business, a lot of money. Now, VPS is almost the same thing. It's kind of a blend between the on-prem and the infrastructure as a service solution. To be honest with you, VPS can be considered infrastructure as a service. I guess the difference is it's how would I explain it? Basically, the difference is with the VPS, it's a virtual machine that runs on someone else's infrastructure, and it's essentially the same, except just like the on-prem solution, you have full control of everything. You have full root access. You can do whatever you want essentially, and the biggest advantages is the cost, and you don't have to buy any hardware. So these two, infrastructure service and VPS, can kind of be lumped in the same in the same tier. It's just the models are slightly different. And finally, we have software as a service. Software as a service, basically everything is done for you. With software as a service, say you would like a hosted CRM. Well, let's see what's out there for CRM. There is Sugar CRM. Right? You go to Sugar CRM. The pricing, everything is generally available somewhere on the site. You may have to do a little bit of searching, but I'm not going to go through all that. And you sign up for a free trial, or you sign up, you create an account, and bang, it's there. You can start using it right away. The billing is usually relatively straightforward. You tend to pay by user, you tend to pay by a combination of the amount of users, and the amount of features that you may want to add that's not part of their base package. Let's say you want to have a ticketing system. Well, there's Zendesk. Same concept. You sign up. What's the pricing? The pricing, at least as this recording, is $5 per month per agent. And an agent would be anyone that works for you. And you can see the prices range from $5 a month all the way up to $200 a month per person. But like I said, there's no upgrades for operating systems that you have to deal with. You have to deal with security. Everything is there. It just works. You don't. Now I know I didn't show you DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean is my VPS provider / infrastructure service provider of choice. So basically, I go between DigitalOcean and AWS depending on what I need. DigitalOcean does not offer as many services as AWS, so that's why I tend to use both of them. Anyway, now I just want to get that out the way. But yeah, so that's probably the biggest decision you have to make. Now, I'll be honest with you. For certain things, it may make 100% sense to start off with software as a service. Especially if you don't want to deal with the technical issues and you don't have your own IT staff and blah blah blah. And what tends to happen is people want to get more and more complex, or they want to add more services, and you end up with it's kind of like death by 1,000 cuts, right? If you're paying them that's $5 a month per agent, and you end up paying, say, Sugar CRM another $5 per month per agent, and you have QuickBooks that's hosted. You can end up paying Intuit, I believe it's $10 per month per agent, or $10 per month per user, or however their billing is. Small business. I guess it's not as horrible, but it's $10 per month. But as you can see, as you keep adding more and more services, and you keep adding more and more add-ons, and you can end up spending $100, $200 a month, depending on how many services you use. You can end up spending hundreds of dollars a month. Where while you don't have the responsibility of maintaining your own gear, the onus becomes let me rephrase that. You have the responsibility of maintaining your own gear and having an IT department or contracting IT services. It can become expensive, and it's relatively inflexible. Services, keep in mind, are mostly cookie cutter. They're not really designed to be overly customizable for their clients. Now, if you're a big enough client and you're a $2 million month contract or whatever the case, you can usually talk a lot of these guys into us doing customizations, or you are rolling out new features, generally available tech a lot of times, but specifically stuff that you ask for. But if you do the math and say you're paying $100 a month for all the services, over the course of a year, that's probably about the price of buying your own hardware, depending on how crazy you want to get. It doesn't, of course, include the labor for like maintenance and things of the sort. But anyway, I'm starting to ramble on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to end this video right here. As usual, let me know what you guys think. Feel free to subscribe, comment, the usual, and that's it, guys. Have a good one.